Riders of Theoden is dead. Long live Riders of Thengel! So the day has finally come where I reveal my greatest discovery, the new ROHAN Meta. Today we're looking at my new ROHAN list. We're deep diving on the mechanics and the build. We're taking it to a tournament to put it through its paces, and we're going to see if I can even remember how to roll dice.
I'm going on an adventure!
Now, my Middle-earth viewers will be familiar with my penchant for the ROHAN Horse Lords, but for all my 40k and Star Wars Legion nerds... ROHAN is my absolute jam, and in the last 3 to 4 years I've been working on a build that's low numbers, hard-hitting, super elite, built around King Theoden and the knights of his household. A couple of years ago, the new edition dropped, and then we had the ensuing supplement Gondor at War, and my army went from hot, themey trash to insanely powerful. J. Clare, our mighty lord and savior of SBG, gifted me a legendary legion in the Gondor at War supplement that was exactly tailored to my army, and the list went absolutely bananas. But just as he giveth, he taketh away. Over the past 2 years, I've run this list at 5 tournaments, bringing home a first, 2 seconds, and a third, with 17 wins, 1 draw, and 3 losses on my tournament record. Luke, Nick, and Brendan, I'm coming for you. I have made a lot of videos and regularly regaled Jay on the topic, and you heard it here first, Riders of Theoden is dead. In the recent FAQ, Gamling's banner was nerfed heavily. The strongest version of this build is all about the synergy of Gamling's banner. Previously, any ROHAN hero within 3 inches would return to 1 point of might at the beginning of any turn. That has been changed to affect just a single model. With my build all focused on that synergy, I have gone from getting 3 to 4 might points back per turn to a single point. This list has been hugely affected. I've crunched a whole bunch of math hammer and done a bunch of testing, and I'd say that my build has been reduced in raw power and output effectiveness by about 50%. That has smashed it right back down to the middle of the pack. Now, it's still a great list, but this is my big build that I take to international tournaments to compete with the international heavyweight boys and girls of the SBG scene. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's now hot, themey trash once again. So, I find myself in the market for a new army.
This is my power.
Now, before I go screaming into the arms of my all-mounted, all-metal Angmar army that I've been chipping away at for the last couple of years, I wanted to give the Horse Lords one last chance and see if I could recreate an army with the same level of raw power as my old Riders of Theoden list. Now, if we rewind a couple of years till before the old edition, I was looking at a slightly different build with Aragorn, Strider, and a couple of Rangers of the North allied in, to kind of replicate the passing of the Grey Company meeting up with Theoden's household as they leave Isengard. But the new edition dropped, army bonuses came in, and of course these guys were Yellow Alliance, so I would miss out on that juicy +1 strength on the charge, so I let the idea fall away. But as I flicked through the army book, pondering new combinations, I realized there is one Aragorn model that is a Green Alliance with Rohan, and that is none other than King Elessar.
You have my sword.
Now, I assumed that there was an exception, that you couldn't take Theoden, who is of course dead when Aragorn is coronated, in the same army. There isn't! So I rapidly descended into list building madness, aided and abetted by my insane list enabler Tommy Ward, and the Host of Thengel was born. In the year 2960 of the Third Age, nearly 60 years before the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, Thengel, sire of Theoden, has been king of Rohan for 7 years. His western borders have been invaded by a host of Dunlendings, and he has summoned the Rohirrim to meet them upon the field of battle. But amongst the summoned marshals and lords comes a man unlooked for, Thorongil of the North, a mysterious man with the air of a great lord and a mighty general whose tactical prowess spares many lives and leads to a swift and resounding victory. But rather than return to the halls of Meduseld where fame and fortune await him, Thorongil takes his leave of Thengel and journeys south. In time he would return to Rohan, but not for many years, and under his true name, Aragorn, son of Arathorn, heir of Isildur and King Elessar. So, where to begin with this madness? Well, of course, this army is going to be a counts as list, where I'm using modern profiles to represent different characters, and the obvious ones we're starting with are King Elisar representing Thorongil, which is young Aragorn, and Theoden will be representing his father Thengel. Now, I'm hear people already screaming in the comments, but Thorongil didn't have Anduril yet. King Elisar doesn't represent. I don't give a shit. First of all, I mean, yes, there's the whole Anduril thing. He shouldn't really have, you know, his 4+ pointy sword of doom, but I'm not too worried about it. Maybe he's stabbing dudes with the shards of Narsil. But the thing that I really like, and the reason I actually prefer Elisar over Strider to represent Thorongil, is the 6-inch banner effect. In the appendices of Lord of the Rings, Tolkien comments on how both Ecthelion, Denethor's father, and Thengel are very taken by Thorongil and his air of a lord of men, and his ability to inspire the men around him. So the banner effect is perfectly suited to him. Plus, the big heavy armor, the armored horse, that really suits Aragorn riding to war in a military fashion with Thengel and then eventually Ecthelion. He does all sorts of naughty stuff, goes down and messes up the Corsairs of Umbar. He's an absolute badass. So I'm really happy with the Elisar profile. Yes, the pointy sword of doom 4+ Anduril is a little bit stretchy, but you know, he's got the shards of Narsil with him, and as you can see in the insane conversions, I just lean into that and kind of make it part of it. Now, Thengel being represented by Theoden, that's absolutely fine. Now, where do we go from here? Well, we're going to flesh out the Rohan faction first. In terms of raw power, as you can see, adding Aragorn to this list is all about getting that free point of might per turn, and we're still going to be running Gamling's Banner because that is still an incredibly powerful piece of war gear. So now we've rebuilt the mechanic of the Riders of Theoden list, getting +2 might back per turn instead of the 3 to 4 might that we got in the old Riders of Theoden list. But what have we gained for that trade-off? Well, we've gained a Fight 6 hero with an elven weapon. That is the one big weakness of my old Riders of Theoden list, is everything was Fight 5 and you didn't have that really insane hero. Your best bet was Aemma. So Aragorn is already bringing a little bit more versatility than I had in my old list, and all we've traded is that might mechanic being centered down to, you know, that big central cluster. Now I can have free might operating on 2 different flanks of the army. So, an interesting element so far. So we're going to run Gamling. I've decided to call Gamling Guthlaf, which is actually the original name of the Rohan banner bearer in the books, and I've decided that that is Gamling's father for a bit of fun. So Guthlaf with the royal standard of Rohan, and then of course we need to keep building into those free mechanics, those free might mechanics, so we're running Dioramas, who gets those free heroic combat synergies with Theoden, and bringing more Fight 5, more heroic strike, because of course Gamling, or Guthlaf, is Fight 4. So Dioramas is representing his father, Folkwyne, the previous chief of the Royal Guards before him. And yeah, so we're getting pretty sweet here. We've got our 3 Rohan heroes. That's a beautiful little setup to get that 1 free might per turn. And we've got Aragorn bringing in that free point of might, and the Fight 6 hero list is looking good so far. We still want a high hero count. I want it to feel the same. I want that raw dynamic of power on the tabletop, but we're no longer constrained by Rohan heroes because we don't have to stick to the Legendary Legion mechanics, and we don't have to stick to fitting as many Rohan heroes around the banner anymore. So we've broken the shackles of the old Gamling's Banner and the Riders of Theoden, and we need to turn the things that became our negative into our positive, and we are bringing in another faction. That's right, I am allying in the Fiefdoms, which is another green alliance. So we have a Rohondoms alliance, Gondor, Rohan, and Fiefdoms, and I'm going to be bringing in the most badass bloody Fiefdoms hero there is, Forlong. This guy is a beast. He's Fight 5. He doesn't have heroic strike, but he's got heroic strength. He's Strength 5. He's got a war spear, so he just munches through troops, and he has a war horn. More on that in a little bit. So, Forlong is coming along. Who is he going to be representing? Well, he is going to be representing Forbold, the father of Grimbold. And you'll notice he has a horse. So obviously what's happened here is Forbold, the previous Lord of Grimslade, he must have died on the field of battle, or perhaps his famous horse got killed and he wasn't able to pass it down to his son Grimbold. So Forbold is ready to dish some pain. I'm loving that lance. He's going to be fantastic. And he brings a war horn. This is great because another little Achilles heel of my Riders of Theoden list is that, you know, the heroes didn't auto-pass courage. Obviously, it was stacked out with Royal Guard, but Theoden and Dernhelm and Éomer were both problems with, fluking bad courage tests when fighting opponents that regularly had terror. If you got a couple of bad dice rolls, you're burning your will to pass those tests. Obviously, Daowine's got Swarm Protector, Gamling's got Swarm Protector, but now they're all getting +1 courage from Forlong's Warhorn because that affects your whole army, not just your allied faction. So now, we have a Courage 7 Aragorn, but wait, there's more! Because he's from the Minas Tirith army list, and this is a Green Alliance, the Minas Tirith army bonus is +1 courage. So we have Courage 8 Aragorn. So he is auto-passing all courage tests unless he is in range of Harbinger of Evil, in which case he will only fail on a Snake Eyes roll. So, some insane little synergies there as well. So that's our next hero. That takes us to 5. And I would say the most competitive version of this list is probably running those 5 and stacking out your troops to fill out the 800 points. However, I really wanted to lean into theme here, and so I've decided to bring along Beregond, mounted on a horse to represent young Helberad. He's still a great hero, he's got bodyguard to Aragorn, he's got a might point on the bow, useful for capping objectives and maybe getting that little extra sneaky heroic combat on the back flank, so he's no slouch, but it's probably more worthwhile not to take him and flesh out the numbers. But let's start talking about troops. Obviously, we're going to need some Royal Guard. I've opted for 6 Royal Guard, 4 with Theoden and then 1 with each of the other heroes. Then I'm taking a Citadel Guard with bow on horse with Aragorn's warband so that he can, do that perfect objective capture. I always found in objective capture missions, I was always leaving 1 Royal Guard behind, where the Citadel Guard's basically the same as a Royal Guard. He's got bodyguard, he's mounted, he can cap from the back, but this time he's got a bow, so he'll be able to affect the battle even while he's sitting at the back of the objective. So that's another plus over the Riders of Theoden list. And then, with Forlong, I'm bringing a Knight of Grimslade. This is Fastred, Sire of Dunhir, Lord of Harrowdale. So this is just a Knight of Dol Amroth, who I've given a fancy name, and given a beautiful converted model, one of my favorite conversions. So it is simply a Knight of Dol Amroth to go with Forlong's warband. It just helps get that raw killing power up. The lance on the charge, the armored horse, it's just another little element of versatility in this list, because that is the big problem with Riders of Theoden, is it is a little bit of a one-trick pony, but you increase your versatility, or you used to increase your versatility, by just having 1,000 points of might every game. So now I'm trying to find versatility in those different ways. I've got a bunch of Royal Guard, so I've still got plenty of bodyguard. I've got Citadel Guard, plenty of bodyguard. I've got some bows now, which I never had before, and I've got a Knight of Dol Amroth, who will have done, he's one of the only models in the army that is worried about courage checks, but he's got Forlong's Warhorn, so he's up to courage 5, I think. So he's still pretty brave, and he just adds a little bit of punch. So that is the build. 14 models at 800 points. And here we find the weakness. So, my 800 point Riders of Theoden world beating list was 18 models. Now, 18 models is a sweet spot for an all-mounted elite high hero count model. We had 7 heroes in that list because of the Dernhelm double tap with Merry and Éowyn, and then, 9 Royal Guard in that list, or thereabouts. No, 11 Royal Guard, I can do math. So we had quite a core of troops to be able to pin down flanks and keep the core body of heroes running and munching through the center or operating on 2 flanks. We've definitely got lower numbers in this list, and that could be a problem. So let's look at the trade-offs. Let's do some comparisons between the two. 18 numbers versus 14. So more numbers to Riders of Theoden. I would say that, yes, it's got more might, the Riders of Theoden list, and more starting might as well, because you've got extra heroes, but the ability to have the might being generated for free in 2 different places, I would say that's actually about on par, especially when you consider the fact that Riders of Thengel, or the Host of Thengel, gets a Fight 6 hero with an Elven Blade. That is going to be insane, especially when coming up against other Fight 6 heroes, having that hero that can go toe-to-toe without having to call a heroic strike, and of course, Smaug, Sauron, the Necromancer, Bolg, Azog, the big elf lords. all of those guys are just going to be that much easier with an Elven Blade and Fight 6. So, I've rambled on a lot about this list. I'm excited about it. I think it's got great potential. I love all the little synergies that add together. I love that the Warhorn from Fiefdoms brings this new element to the other parts of the army that you're not expecting. I love that I've still got my +1 strength on the charge. I love that Forlong and the Knight of Dol Amroth are re-rolling 1s. So Forlong's got +1 to wound and re-rolling 1s from his army bonus, and he's got 2 attacks, 3 on the charge. He is going to munch troops or potentially be a perfect little counterpunch to Aragorn striking up or someone else striking up against a big hero. I've still got Daewine for those free heroic combats. I've still got Gamling being able to play an off-tank role by heroic defensing indefinitely with 3 points of might if he has to, as well as holding that backline and passing might to both Theoden and Daewine if required. I love it. There's a lot of courage protection. There's even more courage protection on the big heroes. And I'm just so excited to finally play with Aragorn. I have never used Aragorn in a competitive setting. King Alisar on horse is one of the most undismountable heroes in the game. He's got Horse Lord, 3 points of fate, 3 points of will to resist sorceress blasts. And while we're on it, let's talk about the other Achilles heel of this list. It's magic. I have no magic resist, but I have got a few heroes with will spread around, so area of effect spells I should be able to buff off if I need to, but the big one is Saruman and his ilk. 2+ re-rollable compel forever. Oh, sorry, transfix. If someone can use magic to tie up Aragorn very easily, it's a big chunk of points getting tied up. And that's Aragorn's big weakness, is he doesn't have, Elendil's ability to just buff off spells. So, that is going to be interesting. But without further ado, let's pack up the army case, let's get in the car, and let's go and take this army to a tournament. We have got an 800-point event. It is 4 games. The army building requirement is 400 points of heroes. It should really put this force through its paces. Let's dive in. Let's get out of the driveway first. We have a lot of terrain in the car. Let's not have a car accident. We have 11 boards worth crammed into a Toyota Corolla. Yep. That's a mean feat. Yep. Alright, good morning YouTube. It is Saturday. We are cruising through the streets of Toowoomba. I stayed up here last night at Marky's house, and we're heading on down to Battle Station to kick off some epic Middle-earth action. It is our 800-point singles, and I'm running the themey filth that you guys saw last week, which is Theoden's host. So I've got Aragorn in Thengel's host, but with the Theoden model. I've got Aragorn, Theoden, who never existed at the same time, but it's going to be beautiful, and even some fiefdoms in there. It's going to be pretty sweet. What are you running, Marky?
I've got a little yucky Mordor list, Gothmog, Troll Chief, Shaman, a little bit of, and a ring wraith in there just to spice things up a bit. So
Marky finally diving into the ways of the magic.
Have a go a bit of magic, so we'll see how that goes.
Been talking about it for so long. We're playing what, 4 games today?
It'll be 4 games. Yeah, 400 points of heroes.
Oh, that's
so that's probably the big key to the day. 800 points, but 400 has to be of heroes at least.
Yeah, so it's going to make the lists sort of smaller size, but kind of beefier in terms of what they're bringing, which is going to be important because we only have an hour-and-a-half time limits as well. So
we've got to get into it.
Yeah, it's going to be spicy. All right, let's go hook up some Maccas, and we'll go and set the terrain up because we got like a lot in this car.
We're full.
Game 1 here at Toowoomba. We are playing capture and control, so objectives already for my poor small numbered force, and I'm fighting, I think what we could safely say is an Angmar horde, Justin. Run us through the filth of this list.
So it's 52 models all up. Witch King has everything but a Morgul blade and -2 will.
And the crown, most importantly,
crown.
big old crown.
I've got a Shade, a Barrow White, and a Warg Chieftain. This list did originally have Gulliver, but he did absolutely nothing. And
controversial, trimming out Gulliver.
The practice game I played, he did nothing at all. So I was
cool.
like, I'm
He's
just gonna.
tricky to use.
Yeah, the big base didn't help. So I went with the Warg Chieftain because it's like he's still high strength, he's still fast moving. just lose out on the monster attacks.
Nice. And the other thing, of course, some specters, a couple of wargs, and like 38 orcs or something.
37.
Yeah, so yeah, I think total numbering nearly 50 or 49. So I need to kill 25 models to break or something. So it's a lot of dudes. Objective in the center and all around. The objectives are worth 2 VPs, and leader kills and break are only worth 1. So not really that important this game. It's all about board control. Let's get into it. That was close, dude.
Yeah.
That was
Like 1 point separated.
yeah, it ended up being 6 VPs to 5 in Justin's favor. He managed to snag one of my objectives in the last turn.
52 models.
Yep, and I just couldn't fight the board control. So you got 3 objectives, I got 2. I forgot to move my mounted Citadel Guard in the second last turn, which meant he was 10.5 inches away from contesting one of Justin's objectives. I killed the Witch King, annihilated him. Yeah. So it would have been 6-4. No, 7-4 if I'd contested that other objective. Yeah, it was very, very close. How did you enjoy, all the Angmar kind of magical powers and stuff, the paralyzers? Were they fun to use?
Yeah, really fun. In the practice game I played against Campbell, I actually didn't have a shade. And
Dude, we totally forgot. It's also a shade.
Yeah.
That's another 100 points of filth.
Yeah, because that was the compromise. It was the Shade and the Chieftain for Gulliver.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went the Shade, and yeah, it was really helpful.
Shade certainly did some work. I lost a lot of fights because of that debuff, and it also, it's not just that I lost fights, it's the resource drain. The amount of times I spent might with heroes to push my 6 that had rolled to a 5 back to a 6, it was absolutely savage. So Shade was a big factor. I just couldn't get through. I burned all of Aragorn's will, resisting paralyzers and things, but I kept him in the fight, which is nice.
Yeah, I probably would have liked to have used the Witch King a little bit more, but he died.
Yeah, I got him pretty quick. I was like, I just burnt, in the first turn I burnt all my will resisting and then set up a play to kill him. That one didn't work because I rolled like crap, and then I got him the next turn.
Yeah, I think I really, in hindsight, really would have liked the Witch King to be deployed up at the back so he had a bit more time to mess around with spells.
You did play very, very hard, very aggressively with him. Well, good game, dude, and good luck with the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, you too.
So round 2, it is heirlooms of ages past. We are digging up buried relics, and I have been pitted against the great desolator of the north, Smaug himself, which is terrifying, obviously, because it's Smaug. I've killed him before, but at least this isn't the worst game for it. It's not Lords of Battle. It's a weird, objective, funky game. I feel like I might be able to get lucky. How has Smaug been going so far, Mr. Pat Matriga?
My first game of the day was against Dale. It was a grudge match, very thematic. Very fun game. We killed many peasants, they burnt down. I did end up losing. Unfortunately, the 5 objectives make it a little bit difficult with the 1 model. I've been having a blast with him so far, though. He's a really fun model to play, and I think people like versus.
Did the Wind Lance annihilate him?
The Wind Lance did not shoot once, so we were slinging around combat, diving behind buildings.
Evil model can't shoot into combat, or the good Dale player can't shoot into combat. So, Heirlooms of Ages Past, I think it's going to be, look, this is such a swingy scenario. If you get the relic, I basically need to try and kill you or surround you to get those secondary VPs. That would give me 3 VPs to your 6, and I would have the banner. So I can get an easy 6-4 minor loss here, but to win, I got to either get the banner and run or kill Smaug. So it's going to be good, dude. Good luck.
Good luck.
Let's do it. The Rohirrim have ridden to victory. We slew the dragon without even using a single throwing weapon, cheating kill either, I might add. Basically, Smaug didn't come on for 3 turns.
The 4th turn he flew on.
He rolled a 1 for Maelstrom of Battle because you come on randomly on the board edges. And then when he came on, you rolled a 2, which meant I got to pick. So I'd been on the board already for 3 turns, pulling my hair out, having no idea what I should do. And then I basically...
Yes, digging up relics. I found the relic and ran off with it with Baragon. And then I put Smaug in a position where he had to come on the board in a specific place because nowhere else he could get. I charged him with heroes. I just locked him up. I had anti-fly formation. So even if he'd got the chance to win priority and move, which never happened, he wouldn't be able to go anywhere. So bad dice, Pat.
It happens. It happens when you play one model. It does happen. You know, full props to you. You played the anti-fly formation, leaving the cavalry in a position where I couldn't fly. I couldn't fly anyway.
Yeah, you didn't win priority once.
However, that positioning is really important, and that's obviously a really good move to do. We had one little opportunity where I won one combat, got a barge, knocked Aragorn prone, and we just couldn't win the fight on him.
It was a good move. Yeah, Smaug only won a single combat the whole game. He knocked a whole bunch of my dudes off their horses and killed a few. I ended up losing 5 Royal Guard or something over the course of that combat. And then you made the sexy barge. You knocked Aragorn prone off his horse with the barge.
By himself.
Charged in all by himself and rolled a 4 high on 4 dice with the combat. And Aragorn was like, yeah, you're not gonna hurt me here. It does. Aragorn was insane. He must have dealt at least 10 wounds on his own.
4+ to wounds, particularly rough, I think.
Yeah. Andoril, chop, chop, chop. The Shard of Narsil going chop, chop, chop. He was just stabbing, cutting off his toes one at a time. And then Forlong did a bit of work too. I forgot that he rerolls ones, but...
For next time. For next time.
Yeah. A rough game for you, dude, but it was excellent fun eviscerating you. So
it always is, apparently. It always is.
Good luck with the rest of it.
Good luck as well, man.
See you, man. Cheers. Game number 3, and it is a retro classic. We're playing Reconnoiter, which I am slightly ashamed to admit, Seb, I've never played before in all my years. It gets banned from a lot of tournaments because it's pretty one-sided sometimes. But yes, it's my first time playing Reconnoiter, and it is against Seb, Inskip, and your awesome Isengard force. Run us through who's in your list, my dude.
Alright, it's a very simple Isengard list. I'm not going for any kind of legendary legion. I just have Saruman on horse with a whole bunch of Urks to back him up.
Nice.
I have Wolfsbane on horse with a bunch of Urks to back him up.
Solid choice, yeah.
I've got Vrasku with 6 crossbows and 6 bows.
Yep. So that's the Uruk-hai bows with scouts?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And I've got Grimer Wormtongue, who should do well in this match, hopefully.
Against Theoden, of course. Yep, all right. And then just what? A horde of Uruks, basically.
Yep, and 1 Shaman to just give him a little bit more bloodlust.
Get the fury going. Okay, so a smattering of heroes and then like 36 Uruk-hai or something. It's a block of Uruks. It is a numbers game. Seb has got to get his models off my board edge, and I've got to get my 14 models off his board edge. So I basically am going to have to get in his face and try and kill him, and then rapidly get some dudes off at the end, and you're going to be trying to run around past, I guess. Good luck, dude. Let's get into it.
Yeah, good idea.
Another big victory for Rohan here. I had some hot rolling, and Seb perhaps unwisely split up his forces, and I was able to sort of pick a bit apart on it, a bit piecemeal. Saruman took like 3 turns to arrive. Aragorn and Theoden managed to do a slingshot into an unsuspecting Thryden and just kill him on turn 3 before he did anything. It was a bit savage there, Seb. Any thoughts on what you could have done differently, or maybe your MVP, your favorite unit?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't go as planned. Splitting in any evil army is generally not a great idea. But considering this was Reconnoiter, I thought maybe I could just push half of my unit straight through the 4 guys up here and get straight to the end.
And Forlong said no and ate them.
Yeah, and that didn't really work out because I wasn't considering just how tough this Rohan list was. Really.
Yeah, it's definitely beastie, but it has that low number problem. But I think just because I was able to fight bits of your army at one time, it meant that I didn't feel the pressure of all those numbers. And Saruman arriving so late as well.
Yeah, losing Wolfsbane was also a big blow, mainly because of all the might that he would have brought to the fight. That's a whole bunch, that's at least 3 heroic moves I could have brought out
100%
into the horses.
Yeah, I won priority a lot, and when I didn't, I called moves, and because I'd sniped Thryden, I was able to just go da-da-da-da-da and get those charges all the time, and charging Rohan, kill Uruk-hai. So the combats, I think also just the fact that Saruman arrived so late, so he wasn't up transfixing early. You got one nice Sorcerous Blast off, but you rolled so terribly on 4 dice with the re-roll that I was able to resist it on a single dice from Aragorn. So, you know, if you'd stopped Aragorn and Theoden up there, and I wouldn't have been, you know, I wouldn't have been able to get off the board edge as quickly, and the game's nearly gone to time. So it could have been very different. I did have some swingy luck. But yeah, good luck with the rest of it, my man. I hope you enjoyed game number 4. Enjoy.
Yeah, here's hoping I have more luck.
Yeah. So, time for a check-in. Check-in. It's the end of round 3. I'm f***ing exhausted. I have had the ultimate submarine. I went down to Justin, lost a VP, and then I've had 2 12-0s. So I'm like back up, man. What about you? What about you?
So 3 for 3. I haven't lost one yet.
3 wins?
3 wins, yeah. I don't know what.
We might be playing next.
I think we're close. So
that'd be good. So who'd you beat?
I beat Petey in the first round.
Okay, so it's Army of Thrall.
Army of Thrall, yeah. A grudge match that we've set up. We're doing a best of 5 now. So
he's crying over there.
Then I played Sammy Smith. He had
Great Company.
Yeah. So and that was a really good game. That was a lot of fun. He shot me to pieces, but I managed to get in and stomp him.
And he has a ranger named after me as well.
And me.
And you.
He's got. He had to add a couple, and he's called me.
Did our rangers do well?
I rinsed myself right in the last turn, so that was pretty fun. And yes, I killed your range on the last turn to drop the relic. And I got the VPs for dropping the relic.
Yeah, because I picked up the relic. Hell yeah! All right.
And I killed him off. And then I played Nick just now. He had Lothlorien.
Cool.
Reconnoiter. Weird game. I marched off the board.
Yeah, nice.
It was weird. Easy, sort of just
got your dudes around
drummed and walked around the edge, and off I went. So,
yeah, right. Brutal.
So yeah,
brutal.
3 games.
Cool, man. All right. Well, let's go listen to the draw, and we might be playing in game 4.
Fingers crossed.
Good luck.
Here we go.
Game number 4 here at Toowoomba at Battle Station, Fog on the Darling Downs. It's going to be a ripper of a game because it is Fog of War, and once again I'm playing against fucking Saruman and Isengard. So Campbell, run us through your list, my bro.
We got Grima, which is going to be MVP against us.
On a horse this time.
Especially around Theoden. Saruman for those Sorcerous Blasts. And some cavalry so I can move and take the objective when I need to.
It's a good list, and you got Lurtz as well, and Thryden.
A nice all-round list, I think.
It's good. It's classic Isengard. We've got to get a terrain pieces. We've got to assassinate a hero, protect a secret heroes, all the secret objectives. It's going to be fun. Yeah, let's dive into it. Good luck, dude.
Let's do it. You suck now.
I do suck. So, a bit of a defeat in the final round for Rohan. I've gone down 6-3. Campbell, you did some amazing castling, and it's not often that I give up pretty early, but by about the 3rd turn, I realized I was so out of position. Campbell played it really well, baited my cavalry in, shot out a bunch of the horses on my heroes. LSR was slogging it, Daewine was slogging it, Sorcerous Blasts as well. I knew I was so out of position. I couldn't get to it. I got Aragorn to my terrain piece on the final turn, and he got Sorcerous Blasted off. So it was fairly brutal. Who was your MVP, man?
It has to be Grima. It was always going to be Grima. He was slowing you down, he was sucking you up, and when he was behind Theoden there, making him fight 3, and it's savage. No doubt.
Like, the whole Theoden thing is brutal, but just in general, having to spend 2 might every time I did actions was a bit It doesn't affect me as much because I've got so much might in this army, but it was certainly a savage play. But yeah, the Sorcerer's Blast messing with my head were the things I was worried about the most. Because
it's a fair thing, isn't it? It intimidates you.
Terrified of Saruman with this list. Magic is the Achilles heel of King Alessar. So yeah, you played it really well, and you didn't break me, almost.
Very close.
2 models away, but you got your terrain piece, and what was the other points? Oh, you kept your hero alive. And then I kept my hero alive, and that was it.
Grima wasn't dying.
Yeah, that's right. You chose Screamer, who I can't kill. So 6-3 to you. Good game, dude. Let's go find out how the placings went.
Well, there we have it, guys. What did I say? The Achilles heel of this list would be Magic, and who did I play? The Witch King of Angmar, best caster in the game, arguably. Smaug, pretty solid caster, although I played it really well, so he didn't cast a single spell. And then Saruman twice. The only person challenging the Witch King for best caster of the game. So 4 lists driven by a center point of magic. So I definitely got some tough matchups. I should have won the first game against Justin. The only reason I lost by 1 VP is because I forgot to move a model. So I was quite happy with how I played that, even though I was exceptionally rusty. Poor Justin got baited into moving the Witch King forward, and I took off his head, so I didn't have to worry about his magic too much. And I just, yeah, I mean, a few rusty mistakes with my charges and setting up my heroic combats. It's been a long time since a proper competitive game, but you know, Justin was rusty too, so we were on even footing there. He is a great player, but I just managed to sneak that guy around the back and then forget to move him because he was under a roof. I just didn't see him. So those are the mistakes you make when you're not tournament sharp, and when you've had no sleep, and when you've been converting this army every night for 6 nights until the wee hours of the morning. That happens. Then we played Smaug, who is always a fun game. It's the second time I've played Smaug, and it is the second time I have beheaded the worm. I got really unlucky at the start. Pat got insane rolls. Smaug kept getting delayed, which forced me to put all my models on the board, and then Smaug was able to just fly in and flame wherever he wanted. But then Pat rolled a 2 when he finally came in, which meant I chose the point of position. I put him in a perfect spot so that he could only go in one exact place, and I got to move afterwards. So he had to come on first, which meant that I could make charges, which meant that I could set up anti-fly formations. So Smaug didn't cast magic, and Smaug didn't breathe fire the entire game. That doesn't often happen when you're facing Smaug. So Pat had some basically crucial poor rolls there, and then he only won a single combat. He had some really bad rolls go against him. I got pretty lucky. I always got my strike ups, and then the one time I didn't get my strike up, Pat rolls a 5 and I roll a 6, and he doesn't want to spend the might because he's got to save it for strike. So yeah, I just slowly and surely gangbanged Smaug to death with as many heroes as I could muster, picked up the prize and ran it off the other corner of the board. So that's Seize the Prize for you, that's Smaug for you. Swingy game, swingy model, that kind of stuff can happen. The third game, I played really well. Seb was a bit inexperienced. Saruman was delayed arriving to the board in Reconnoiter, and he kind of sent his forces forward. I was able to pick them apart piecemeal. He kind of broke them up to try and sneak dudes around. Seb and I had a bit of a chat afterwards, and I think what he should have done was just waited for Saruman to arrive, for starters, so that Saruman would be there to counter Aragorn from the get-go, and then engage my entire force at once, and then once he'd minced me a bit, started running guys around the flanks, rather than breaking dudes up. So I managed to, behead Thryden easily, accidentally behead Saruman. I wasn't even setting up a heroic combat, but it managed to happen. And in the end, I nearly lost the game, because I nearly quartered him too quickly. Luckily, I was able to fling a couple of Royal Guard into Saruman, execute him, and heroic combat off the board as the final play of the game, because Seb had been 25%ed. So, yeah, that was the list at its raw killing power, just annihilating Uruk-hai, albeit against Seb, who didn't play the scenario particularly well in that game. And then the fourth game, I don't really remember. I was basically asleep at the wheel, unfortunately, against Campbell. 4 big games. It was like 6 p.m. at night by then, with, very, very fatigued after not a lot of sleep in the week. I was just very asleep at the wheel, unfortunately, and I set up poorly, and in the first 3 turns, Campbell set some beautiful bait for me, and I just took it and realized I was completely out of position and didn't really have any means of regaining enough board control with such low numbers to be able to prevent him from scoring his terrain objective, set up a good score on my terrain objective, and of course, and he played Saruman beautifully. So Campbell played really well, and I played really poorly, and so I only lost the game 3-6. This is definitely something, a little realization I've had about Fog of War, which I haven't played a great deal. Fog of War, the best way to score is to just keep your hero alive, score your terrain piece. The ally is going to keep their hero alive, and then if you can just stop them from scoring their terrain piece, you're always going to win 6-3. Or 6-4, or whatever it is, if you break them. Oh no, I think the breaking points are up to 3. So if you can remain unbroken and prevent their score of the thing, and you know, keep the hero there targeting alive. Maybe if you get the hero there protecting, there's things you can do. But they're the things you focus on. Is like get the terrain because it's positional and it's usually pretty easy to work out what your opponent's trying to score. But yeah, it's definitely not black and white. But just thinking about that game, I sort of thought if I just had drilled down my plan into focusing on a couple of clear things, I could have really distilled a scoring plan from the get-go. And I think that's the biggest takeaway is, you know, you always need to go, all right, how am I scoring the points from turn 1? And I certainly didn't in game 4 because I was sort of like, I have to drive home 3 hours after this. I was so tired. So yeah, it was awesome fun. How do I feel about the list overall? It was very fun to play. I don't think it's as powerful as my old Riders of Theoden. I love having Fight 6 with the Elven Blade, though. It's pretty good. I'm interested to see if I can tweak the list a little bit, maybe swap some heroes in some different combination to keep my numbers back up. So I think it could do with a bit more numbers. But I'd say it's probably, at the moment, 75% as good as my Riders of Theoden old list. Maybe 80 when you can think about Aragorn. Whereas the current Riders of Theoden list is like 50% as good as the old Riders of Theoden list, maybe worse. So it's definitely, I think, a better build than current Riders of Theoden. I think it might actually be the best Rohan build at the moment. Obviously, you've still got your Horde Rohan builds. Those haven't been affected particularly brutally by Gamling's Banner, because obviously, you know, you're taking far fewer heroes, so you know, the banner is you know, it's not, those lists aren't built around that. Some Horde lists you won't even take Gamling's Banner. So, you know, Paths of the Druiden, that was another list that worked really well at small to medium numbers, focusing on the banner effect. Defenders of Helm's Deep, that's all about the banner effect, but there could be other builds that you do there, so that, you know, the banner's not as reliant, because Aragorn's not affected by it, for instance. So it's, neither is Haldir, so there's other ways to build those lists, but Riders of Theoden was definitely the best build of Rohan, maybe on par with Paths of the Druiden, just, you know, a few different mechanics, and both of the best builds of those lists have been pulled down by that banner. And I think that if I can get this build working, I think this build is the best Rohan build. I'm really keen, obviously it's an alliance, but I'm really keen to hear what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that this build is interesting? Do you like the theme? Obviously, it's competitive filth, you know, allying Theoden and Aragorn together. But whenever I do that, I always try to, you know, make themey armies, and I love using counts as armies, where I mix up the profiles to represent other things. My whole Wayne Riders army is, you know, comprised of Easterling and Khand models that are representing models from like 600 years earlier. I love doing that stuff and using existing models out of, like, anachronistically out of their time frame, to make really inventive stuff, because there's nothing worse than getting to a tournament and everyone having the same armies. So if you can rock up with something that's quite flavorful and quite unique. Another little thing I would like to add before I finish up is, obviously, if you're going to do armies like this that are counts as with a lot of conversions, you need to get your TO's approval, but more importantly, you need a visual guide. It is the height of disrespect to rock up to a tournament with a heavily converted army and expect your opponent to just be like, okay, so what's that model? What's that model? And try and remember your insane conversions. So I printed up a visual guide with photographs of each conversion, the name of that model's new character, and the profile it represents. And as soon as I get there, I hand this and my list to my opponent. I give them a little spiel about the theme, and I go, if at any time you don't know who anyone is, just ask me. If you would like, I will refer to them by their correct profile names. If you want me to say Theoden and Forlong and Daewine, I will. If you'd like me to say their themey names to get really involved in the theme, I'm happy to do that as well. You know, when you're doing crazy like this, you need to be really, really respectful to your opponents, particularly at insanely competitive events. If any TO sees this document and says, I'm sorry, I don't think you should be allowed to bring that, I think that's too converted, that's too far, then they're a as far as I'm concerned. I think we should be encouraging really awesome themey stuff that's left field. Everyone rocking up with the same cookie cutter armies is boring. I would even, you know, I would let someone do this at Arda Unleashed. If they had a beautiful visual guide with lots of juicy conversions, I would hope that the folks at Aragorn would even allow it, you know? It's as long as you're doing the right thing by your opponent, I think it should be fine. And you can even write the correct models' names on their bases, like that sort of thing. Hopefully the TO will say, I love what you're doing, here's what I'd like you to do to be able to make this fair and playable in our competitive setting. So hopefully we see lots of cool converted armies, because it's so much fun. Like, I chopped up that Eomer model into like 6 different models. So much fun. So there we have it, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think of this build. Let me know if you think it is the most competitive Rohan army. Do you see any big Achilles heels? For me, my final takeaway, which I sort of forgot to touch on, is that while it's fun and while it's competitive, I don't think I'm taking it to Aragorn, because it doesn't have magic. So yeah, I think I gotta take Angmar, hey? Like, it's great fun, but it's the thing for surviving. I'm going on another tangent now, sorry guys, this is gonna be a long talk, but the thing that to compete at a really high level, one of the most important factors, and if you talk to, you know, the world champs, if you talk to Kylie, if you talk to Jay, if you talk to these big players, one of the most important factors is matchup survivability. If you have a list that has some hard counters, it is less likely that you're going to get through your 6 games to get to the championship round. This list is just like Riders of Theoden in that regard. It's got some amazing raw power. It annihilates people. I had 2 12-0 victories. But if you come up against a force that has a hard counter to you, like Saruman, or like the Witch King, you can get shut down and your games are that much harder. So, it might not be versatile enough to take to Aragorn, or to take to the really big tournaments, to take to the Australian Masters. Obviously, I can't take it to Arda Unleashed because I'm the TO, but I'm not sure if it's versatile enough and has enough matchup survivability to run at my big events, which in hindsight is something I was beginning to realize about Riders of Theoden, even at its raw power level. But the good thing about Riders of Theoden is you've got more heroes. So one magician, one wizard can't shut down your Aragorn. So I don't know. I've got lots of thoughts about it. I'm a bit mixed. I think it's definitely a powerful Rohan list. It could be the new meta for Rohan. I'm definitely keen. Definitely keen. Do you guys think there's a horde build that's better than this? Do you think 50 Riders of Rohans with bows in one of the other legions, or the Paths of Theodred's Guard? What other legions do you think might be better than this? What other vanilla lists or alliances might be better than this? What do you like about it? What do you not like? Definitely keen to have a big old tactical discussion in the comments of this one. Let's face it, if you guys are watching the video now, you guys are like my hardcore SPG fans, this is probably not a video for my broader viewers. So let's get nitty gritty. Let's see if we can come up with some cool ideas. If you've got any suggestions on other heroes I should sub in, should I swap Forlong for someone else? Oh, yeah, see, I keep going to end the video and then I think of stuff to talk about. I would have taken Dernhelm, right? She's a beast, but I just couldn't stomach the theme. I was like, why would a hobbit be in this army? There were no hobbits in Rohan 50 years, 60 years before the War of the Ring. And then, who was it at the tournament? It might have been Pat or Reese. One of the lads had the best suggestion ever. Take Dernhelm, and Eowyn represents Thengel's wife Theodwyn, and Merry represents young Theoden as a boy, riding to war to see his dad kick some Dunlending ass, and do like a little conversion of Merry with Theoden's head. Crazy stuff. Anyway, if you guys got any suggestions or any thoughts, drop them down below. I think I've rambled for long enough, and this video is going to have the worst, like, you know, watch view time rate ever, because it's gone on way too long, but I just love rambling about Rohan. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you're loving all the madness, if you want to see these crazy self-indulgent Rohan videos, let me know down in the comments below. Check out my Patreon if you want to support all of this craziness, and I will see you next time right here on Zorpazorp Gaming. Cheers, guys. Things that won't make it onto YouTube.
I'm gonna make it my mission to get demonetized.